We are going to be jumping into the new Fortune Eternum community Q&A. And guys, whether you're watching this on YouTube or you're here at Twitch, look, this is going to be going over, from what I've heard, some things about wars, some things about PvP, and they're pretty solid questions from what I've heard. So we're going to lock in and we are going to catch it. Don't forget to hit that like and sub if you're catching this on YouTube, and link in the chat to my YouTube if you guys want to support me there on Twitch. Check it out, and vice versa. We're going to be trying to do both there on the tube. We're about at 2,000 followers, but with that being said, we're going to be jumping, or I guess 2,000 subs on Twitch, but with that being said, we're going to be jumping into this video. Let's check it out.
Complaining about lack of content, but you've excluded 90% of the game. Are you happy with the state of wars? And are you planning to add gathering tool artifact?
Love that question, and after I saw it, it sparked a few discussions today that we had.
Okay, so Dave is back.
Hey everybody, welcome to the April
Turn it up.
Q&A
Okay.
for New World. I'm here with Scott.
Is this
and
an
look
okay
who's
volume,
back,
guys?
Dave V. We're all super thrilled to have you back.
Thanks, glad to be back.
It's awesome.
Is this okay? This cash money?
Before we get started with the questions, there's a little bit of an update I want to give. So I know we generally do these
Barely hear it.
terms every Monday, and we have for a while, and we've made that commitment. We're going to make a change. We realize that because of this big announcement we've talked about in June, that we're not in a position to answer a majority of the questions coming in. And that's creating some frustration and tension, and we don't really want to do that. So we're going to just cut back on them. We're still going to do an Eye on Eternum, and then we're going to do another dev update. And then after that, I'm not sure when the next Q&A is, beyond that. After our June announcement, we will do a long Q&A and try to address as many questions as we can.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, wait, I can see why people are scared. Did you guys hear that? Wait, whoa. Hold up.
Is beyond that. After our June announcement, we will do a long Q&A and try to address as many questions as we can after that announcement to make sure you all understand everything really clearly.
Oh no, I can see why people are thinking this might be the end of New World. They said after the June announcement, they're going to do a long Q&A, but there won't be many videos after it. How does that work? Also, thank you guys for the hype train. I love you guys. Thank you. Seriously. I appreciate it. Love you. You guys are insane. I appreciate it. But yes, choo-choo's in the chat. But yes, this does concern me. This concerns me because I would assume if there's a big June announcement, I would expect videos about said content that would be coming to the game. So this definitely, I can see why somebody would say that.
And with that, though, let's dive into the questions.
How come reported bugs and feedback in the PTR still make it to live?
I can take that one. So the feedback that we get from players in PTR is super valuable. I know that there's frustration because we can't fix everything that comes up. We have other bugs and a big backlog of things that we're working on to fix as well. So any new...
They're not doing the Q&A until after the June update as there's too much going on. Oh, okay, that makes sense. But it sounds like they said that they were going to be, waiting on, I guess whatever they do I guess you're right. Whatever they say in June is going to more than likely be content that's coming either this summer or like this winter. So I guess I can kind of see that. I can kind of see like why there'd be a Q&A with that and then just waiting until that drops.
Items that come in
Fair enough.
have to get tagged and prioritized against everything else. And so we usually just don't have enough time to hit everything that players raise as a concern. We try and hit the most important things, the game-breaking things, that we're aware of, but there's only so much time.
So with a distinct lack of content to do right now, why were the full season storyline quests removed at the end of their respective seasons? These should be reinstated in full to give new players and alts a chance to play these stories, which are pretty good in the first place.
Yeah, we considered that when they were designed to be one-off for that season, where we wanted to carry part of the story arc forward, but not the whole thing. We thought that would have been too burdensome on new players if it became this big, long, drawn-out storyline where we thought we were getting the key points and allowing you to meet the real interesting characters and have
All these guys look scared to see the questions. Yeah, I mean, you got to know at this point they know they're pretty much on the chopping block every time they make these videos. You know,
that story work for them.
like,
So what about like moving forward in the future? Is it going to stay the same?
Yeah, we have no plan to change that in the future. We like the level of depth that is getting you there, but we don't want to, like I said, we don't want to make it this huge drawn out thing for all the players. For alts, I understand how you might want that. For new players, it wouldn't be quite as fun.
And I think one thing to add is that these seasonal narratives are a huge investment, right? Like, so moving forward, we're probably going to be
yeah,
doing
Envy, that's what I hear.
less new seasonal narratives.
Yeah, we'd rather focus on other areas that are more repeatable for players that you can engage in that content over and over, as opposed to, you're going to see our investment is really in the main storyline as the one-off content.
This seems like a very scattered answer.
repeatable
I mean, I'll be honest. I'll be honest. It seems like an all over the place answer. But I mean, they're trying. I mean, and to what Anvi says in chat. Sorry to polish Champ so much, but what Anvi says in chat, at least they're answering some of the rough questions. That's true. A lot of times, and a lot of the feedback that we see from these Q&As is that they answer softball questions. So I am hearing that they answer like harder ones, which I respect.
Content that can be replayed.
Yeah.
Okay. So what options are being explored to make the competitive endgame PvP experience better? A generic-looking skin for winning a season or placing top 3 on the leaderboards in its current state. For days, holding a territory feels bad and isn't really an incentive for companies to win a season, so it isn't really a goal.
Well, we have good news on one front.
Okay.
As we've talked about, we are
like this
working on
question.
matchmaking. That is something that will be coming to New World.
Okay, they're
And
working
when
on
that
matchmaking.
happens, that will help both the arena and the OPR experience.
Okay.
Because you'll start playing against people more of your skill, and that'll get overall more competitive.
So they're saying like skill-based matchmaking, like rated. Is that what they're saying?
I think for war,
Hold up.
there's not against people more of your skill.
Let me
To
rewind.
win a season.
Ranked?
So it isn't
Question
really
marks?
a
Hold up.
goal.
Well, we have good news on one front. As we've talked about,
Yeah,
we are
MMR,
working on
something.
matchmaking. That
They're
is
working
something
on-
that
okay.
will be coming to New World. And when that happens, that will help both the arena and the OPR experience, because you'll start playing against people more of your skill, and that'll get overall more competitive. I think for war, there's not as much planned there to make the competitive scene more intense. I think, it is already pretty intense, and I think just the rewards of owning a territory for now are more of your skill,
Wait, guys, I want you guys to listen to what they said about wars. Listen up real fast.
and that'll get overall more competitive. I think for war, there's not as much planned there to make the competitive scene more intense. I think, it is already pretty intense, and I think
He's right. I've been saying this for a second, and this is what I've been saying on my stream. As much as I love like casting the wars and creating like a competitive environment, the thing is, wars are meant to be fun at the end of the day. And I feel like, as like, the more and more that we try to make it as completely competitive as like, as possible, it actually steers people away. You like, in a weird way, you have to make, like, I think wars are more for fun. Yes, you want to take them seriously and get good, but whenever you get too competitive with wars, I don't know.
I think just the rewards of owning a territory, I think for now are going to be what we're planning to keep.
Okay. There is a lot of players giving feedback using Discord PvE feedback channel. Is Amazon Games taking action? Is Amazon Games doing in background? Is Amazon Games ignoring it?
We're definitely not ignoring it. So the Discord channel is just,
Yeah, I sorry, I'm gonna hit on the war stuff and the PvP stuff a little more, so I might be pausing for these parts a little more because I feel like I have like a good chunk to say, considering I'm like heavily in the space. Gray says in the chat, I agree. Wars don't need to be changed in the competition regard, in competitiveness regard. The main problem with the wars is the RMTing and war loggers owning everything. I mean, I can kind of see that, right, in the sense of, and that's what I mean when I say that wars don't need to be more competitive. We already have seen the ceiling of players for this game. Like, the ceiling of players has been met. We don't need to get sweatier with the wars. We need to get more available for the wars. We need to be more available. So, I don't know if they're going to hit on it in this, but like possibly territory limiting, things like that, something to kind of get more players involved in the war scene in general is going to be more beneficial for their game as a whole. whole.
One of the many ways.
There's no reason to make things sweatier. It's already there. We've already seen that ceiling.
Players have to communicate with the dev team, and we have people, monitoring those channels when issues are raised by players. We have people investigate them and file bugs and things like that. Like I said before, we have so many things that we're trying to get done that it may feel like we're kind of ignoring something, and that's just because we don't have the ability to get to it right away.
This guy looks like a guy, in the way he says that, he's working really hard, but he can't just he just doesn't have the tools.
Just pile on a little bit that if your feedback isn't listened to, there might be you and 3 others saying, hey, I want this, and 5 other people saying they want the opposite, and we've got to figure out. Sometimes no action is better than action, and sometimes we might go the other way, which will be a change that you don't want, and sometimes we'll go your way, and not everything is just black and white. So when we're responding to these and working on these, we start with the ones that are really clear and are going to have the most impact that we can get done, and then we start making those harder decisions when we have more information.
And that's true even like within our own team, right? We have some people that agree with whatever is being proposed, and some people that disagree, and it's something we have to work through.
And everyone thinks everyone wants what they want.
Right.
How do you plan on regaining the trust of your community? After many contentless, delayed buggy
Damn, this is a
updates,
hardball question.
How can we expect anything different after the June announcement?
Super fair question. I said this before, but the only way we're going to do it is by putting out quality releases that y'all like. I can tell you that we failed differently on this last one than the one before, and we won't fail this way again. But like anything I say is not going to make you trust us. It's going to be when we put interesting software in your hand that is, on time and works.
I mean, this is a fair statement. I mean, this is kind of like essentially what he essentially admits to. Yes, we messed up. We have met, especially the last update, right? He essentially admits that they messed up and then says that there's nothing that he can say. It's about actions rather than words. So, I mean, you gotta W in a way. I mean, it's the best way you can answer the question. I would say at least they're not deflecting because guys, everybody wants to point out how they look sad and defeated, but how many times have we seen one of these videos where these guys are chuckling and laughing at the community questions and not taking it serious at all? I kind of like this because it looks like somebody from Amazon is like a little pissed, or something. Like something is actually happening. Because it's like I feel like in the past we've watched these videos and they've been joking about the community questions and it didn't seem like they were taking it very seriously. This one seems very serious. I'll raise the volume.
And again, I know I've already said that, but I don't really that doesn't make it wrong. It just means we failed at it the last time. So we got to succeed at the next time.
Fair enough.
We'll try to be as transparent we can as to why it failed. And Scott, I know you're going to talk about that a little bit. So we'll just.
And we're not just sitting on the current situation, right? We're looking at things internally, what processes we can improve, like different things we can change. So we're always trying to do better.
Yeah.
I like how the cooking ingredient tooltip now displays where said ingredient can be found in game. Could we get that same quality of life feature for other items in the game as well, if it's not already planned?
Yeah, this is something I think we've all enjoyed. I think it's a pattern.
I sleep with this question. I sleep.
Don't have immediate timelines on it yet, but it's definitely something we want to continue doing.
Can you give us some insight as to what your quality assurance team and process looks like? Please be as detailed as possible. It seems like every patch there are major issues that should have been caught before going live, like not being able to read perks on any item in the entire game when Season 5 went live. So people are wondering if it's a process issue or a resource one.
Before they answer this, I love this question. I love this question because it was something that I thought of immediately. I've actually worked as a game tester before in quality assurance in my past, and seeing the way that the last update came out, I was legitimately baffled. I was baffled as to how some of that shit got through. Like, it made no sense. Because as a QA, how do you not spot that? You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Okay. So I can't get super detailed on kind of the team stuff, but for that particular issue, what happened there was we had a build in hand that we were ready for season 5, and we had a bug that we wanted to fix that would have necessitated creating a new build and retesting, and we sort of have a multi-day timeline on that. We had already delayed, so we were trying to rush. So we tried to do basically 2 patches for the one update, and that process had issues with it, which caused the assets for tooltips to not get processed in the right way. So like
Yeah, this feels like a bit of a dodge.
Designer-facing string data was what the players saw. Overall, though, our QA approach is we use a risk-based approach, which means that as developers make changes, we need to communicate what those changes are, what the potential impacts could be to the QA team, so that they can test around those particular changes. Especially with an MMO, with how many, infinite combinations of player state, weapon, location, game mode, status effects, whatever, right? There's no way for humans to test every single thing, every single time. And we have multiple builds constantly in the pipeline, right? We have the one for our next major release, the one after that, the next, minor update.
I get this. I get this, but they said there's no way they can test everything. The problem with the thing about the answer and the way, or the question and the way he's answering this, there's a problem with it, right? Even in the question, they point out how they pointed out the very obvious bugs that it would take the worst QA could get that. Like the worst game tester on your field could have spotted that when you scroll over an item, it's just a bunch of, code. You know what I mean? It doesn't really answer, this is a bit of cope. This is a bit of cope. They are, they're kind of like deflecting and telling you something different because, it's simply put, you didn't pay attention to it. There weren't resources or something there.
If we have a hot fix, so there's multiple builds in the pipeline at the same time that need attention. So on top of the human QA stuff, we also have automated testing and data validation tools that are not, they don't cover every single thing either, because it takes time to build those tools. When we add new features, we need to add the tools and the validation around those features, and with timelines and priorities and stuff, that doesn't always happen.
Yeah, can I comment real quick?
Yeah.
God, dude, this makes me so mad a little bit. Look, I'm watching these videos. Sometimes this is about the only time you're going to see Willy get testy. To be honest, this makes me mad because all jokes aside, we are talking about Amazon Game Studio, one of the richest possible companies out there. And we're having problems with resources. Like, I know Bezos has to fund rocket ships into fucking space, but can we please get exactly 50 more people on this project? Like, you see what I'm saying? It feels so weird. It just makes no sense. It doesn't make any damn sense how we are here with this game. I'm so confused. It's just like, and they keep talking about it's misconception. I know it's a misconception that they have money, because you got to imagine, as Amazon, you're only putting so much money into your game studios. It wouldn't surprise me if Jeffrey Bezos forgot that this studio even exists, right? It's just confusing to hear about, to see some of this stuff. It's like, I don't know. It's weird. I don't know, dude.
Sometimes our desire to get the software out gets too high. And so one change that has come from this is when we are doing even a small change, we're 5xing the amount of time QA gets with it before it goes live. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be very important. And it'll hold us to a higher standard on, do we really need to fix this thing? Because it's going to be several days before it gets out versus,
right.
Yeah.
Period of time. And so there's other internal processes as well. We're doing things to improve the communication between the development team and the QA team, especially with our risk-based approach. I think the main danger there is someone makes a change, they don't tell QA, it's not written down somewhere, and so it doesn't get tested. And so, we're
okay. So right there, somebody makes a change, they don't tell QA, and it doesn't get tested. So this isn't okay. So now if that is okay, let's completely use one example. The coding whenever you scrolled over an item. So the coding whenever you scroll over an item. Okay, let's use this as an example. So you're telling me that QA did not see that finished product, and somebody above QA essentially imported a build into that build so you merged a build that QA never tested? This doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Let me hear this again.
Doing things to improve the communication between the development team and the QA team, especially with like our risk-based approach. I think the main danger there is like someone makes a change, they don't tell QA, it's not written down somewhere, and so it doesn't get tested.
So the dev team's right there. I know it's definitely possible. So essentially what we are having is the dev team is making changes and they're not telling the QA what is happening in this company. What is the line of business here? Something is up. Yeah, this is huge. I'm surprised nobody's talking about this. He just admitted that the dev team are making changes and they are not sending it to QA. Do you guys know how big that is? No wonder why we feel like we're beta testers. We're getting builds that haven't been played on. Apparently the dev team is merging builds and not sending it to QA, and then it gets sent to us. That's what I gather from that. That's what they're saying, guys. It happens in project management. And I'm not trying to come at, here's the thing. I'm not trying to come at AGS here or anything. I'm just, being critical, right? I'm being critical as somebody who's passionate about the game and I love this game. I'm not coming at AGS. I'm just looking at, I'm hearing what they're saying and I'm actually, processing it because that's what it tells me. And I know that, business management and running a company is never easy and stuff like that, but it just feels disingenuous to the players that are still here to just get, audible confirmation that the dev team is apparently making changes on builds and not even sending the builds to the QA team, which in turn confirms the fact that when we say we're beta testers, we're testers, we kind of are. If the QA team is not getting these builds before we get them, guys, we're beta testers. We are testing these games. That's it. That is the line of processing there. Yeah.
And so, we're implementing processes to try and eliminate that from our workflow.
Are you ever planning on catching up with fixing bugs that should have never been in the game in the first place? Please don't corporate answer me, Scott. I will know.
Well, I agree with you. I don't think any bug should have been there in the first place. But there are bugs, and we are absolutely planning on not only catching up, but catching way up. Huge effort this year toward just raising the quality of the game. Like, we think it's super important, and we want the quality to be as high as you all do.
And one thing I want to add is that we're doing a little bit of a different strategy. We're bundling a bunch of these fixes together. And I know that can be a little frustrating for players because you're making fixes, let me see them. But we're intentionally putting them all together because as you fix one thing, it can break another thing.
And it's called spaghetti code.
See this whole thing come together in a sort of bug-free, polished manner. And that's going to take a while to get that all done. But that's a new strategy we're employing to really hit that new quality.
Yeah, and we're devoting the time for it too. Like in the past, when we've been more focused on feature development, I'd say maybe only like 20%.
This is a management problem, dude. This whole this is a complete management problem. Like all of this, all the way down, it's all it is. They're managing it completely wrong. Nobody's communicating. Who is the boss? Somebody needs to go in there and swing their schlong around and let them know. Who is managing this? It sounds like everybody's passing the buck. This is one of those companies where everybody's passing the buck. It's the QA team. It's the dev team. It's Scott. It's Dave and his new haircut. You know what I mean? It's like everybody is passing the buck. Nobody wants to take ownership, step up, and fix it. That is the problem.
Or so of our time has been on catching up on bugs and things like that. But as of right now, that's a much, much higher percentage. The whole team's focused on it.
People are complaining about lack of content, but you've excluded 90% of the game by leaving it at 625. When will this be updated to 700 gear score?
We agree. There's
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, I mean, this is just a good
definitely
question.
pieces of content that we did not get to with the Rise of the Angry Earth expansion. We are going to be getting to that in the upcoming year. I think some of the big ones are the open world trials. Those 3 trials I think are a ton of fun, but the rewards, quite frankly, aren't very good themselves.
Yo,
Don't let PvP die, Willy.
yo, Honey Creeper, thanks for the 30 bones. Don't let PvP die. Bro, I will be out here until this game dies, okay? I will be out here fighting for this community until I can't no longer. You guys will be hearing Willie do the flute salute as this game is shutting down. We are going to be holding it down in Windsward, fluting this game. Whether it be this year, next year, the year after, or never, I will be here for it because I love this community and I love you guys and I love this. I mean, I've been doing it for almost 3 years, guys. You have to have some form of passion and love for this at this point. There's plenty of streamers and people who would have moved on, but the thing is, I actually have love and passion for it. So,
Well, the artifacts are okay.
Yeah, but the overall, yeah. The other one is the Sandworm trial, right? Like this is a cool, huge raid type content, and the rewards just aren't up to snuff.
thank you, honey.
And the last one I know is one of your favorites. Why don't you tell us about it?
No.
Okay. Some of the ECRs, for instance, I know Scott is a big fan of the Mercard ECRs. They still drop all those 625 named items. And if those got up leveled, it'd give yet another reason to do some of that content. So those are 3 sort of big piles of content that will be up leveled this year at the sort of end game and provide some cool refreshes of that content.
All right. When can we expect another round of Fresh Start?
Fresh
I
start.
can't really say when, but we think we loved the last Fresh Start. We thought it went really well. So you can expect another round, but I really can't get into the details on when.
Have the devs discussed limiting the amount of territory?
So they did say they can't say when, but fresh start servers. The thing is, fresh start servers aren't going to matter if there's no content. Who's going to be playing? So the fact this does give me some insight into thinking about it, right? If fresh start is in their line, like in their scope, in their line of what they want to do, then that does mean that they do have some form of content coming, right? Because they're not dumb. They should know that much, right? I will say though. That should somewhat squash the idea of that New World's going to shut down because I know that I've been seeing this rhetoric from time to time that New World is going to be shutting down in June. Like people think that that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think that is a thing. So yeah, we'll see.
Territories allowed.
Ooh, okay, wait a minute, guys. This is a spicy one. Have the devs discussed limiting the amount of territories allowed to be owned? What are the devs' thoughts on this and how it may impact war? Let's see what they say.
To be owned.
Yes, we've definitely discussed it a lot. That's one of those things that, the player community has different opinions on, and we have different opinions on it just internally within our team. So we're discussing it. We're thinking of, outside of the box, different options and things like that, beyond just like a numerical limit, because, the discussion right now is whether that'll actually fix the underlying issues of not enough people being able to participate in that game mode. And so, we're thinking about it. No concrete changes to announce right now, but.
And we laugh because we have like 2 strong factions internally butting heads on.
Yeah.
I think we all agree that a change needs to be made, but it's quite often difficult to when you really start thinking about all of the edge cases and things that it affects, what the right change is, and we don't want to make the wrong change.
Okay, I was really intensely listening to that because I want to hear every word to that answer because, I mean, that's extremely important. So we've been talking about the idea of limited territories for a long time at this point, especially on this channel. Especially on Twitch and stuff. We have toyed with the idea of possibly 2 or 3 territories, like a company can only own 2 or 3 territories. But I think more than likely, they said that there's 2 factions battling back and forth. Now, both of them probably want to change because that's obvious, right? So I'm going to start speculating, and I'm wondering what exactly changes, or what are the 2 ideas that they have? I feel like one idea is probably definitely the 2 to 3 2 to 3 territory limit. I think that that's a pretty common one that more than likely there's a group of people that are on about. The other thing that I'm thinking about, just the thing that comes to my head quickly is alt accounts. I think that maybe what they might be thinking is, what's the point in having a territory limit if there's still people who are playing on 8 alt accounts in 4 different servers, and you know what I mean? So that might actually be something else. Somebody says in chat, faction lists. I mean, maybe. I feel like factions are too ingrained with New World at this point, in my opinion. That's my personal opinion on that. But I don't know. I'm trying to think of the other. They said there's 2 factions butting heads. I wonder what the other opinion is, because I know one of them is 2 to 3 wars territory limit. So I'm genuinely curious as to what that other opinion is. I guess I want to speculate more on it, but yeah, we'll see.
And it'll probably end up needing to be a more complex picture.
Well, it's okay if I know they said they're thinking and working on it, but I'd like to hear that, because for one, I know they're not in the middle of fixing it, but they're essentially they're saying, they were honest. They said that they're working on it, right? They said that they're working on it. So it's kind of like one of those things where they don't really know 100% exactly what direction it's going to go. So they can't confirm anything, right? They can't really confirm it. Factions staying, but anyone can deck on anyone. I mean, I could see that. A lot of people have wanted Civil War. Yeah. It would be dope if you have too many terrorists and your company has to have less people in the war because your forces are stretched thin. I see, Zacer. Yeah. Oh, what about a 4th faction? No, I think thanks for the follow, by the way, Killa. I think a 4th faction would add to the problem. In fact, I think no factions would honestly be a better answer, just in general, right? They've been thinking about adding a war OPR for over a year. I mean, for sure, right? But this is starting to the wars to some degree are a problem. From what I'm hearing, somebody said that they said 2% of players are in a war. When do they say that, by the way? 1 second. Maybe it's got to be soon, right?
Bigger change at the end of the day, and it's just not something we can get to right now.
Yeah.
Okay, more about wars.
Are you happy with the state of wars? What does your data say on the number of players who get to experience them? How do you feel about war loggers?
So definitely has some ties to the last question.
Okay, guys, let's listen to this one hard.
I mean, I think overall, in terms of when you get into a war, I think we're relatively happy about that experience. Maybe the meta's a little bit staler than we want, but it's a fun, intense experience. So I think what this question is really asking is are you happy with the amount of people that get into it? And I think overall the answer is no, right? We wish more people that played the game got into it. Depending on how you slice the data, it's around 2% of people get to participate in this. So it's a very small percentage of players.
2% of people participate in wars. Now, I'm wondering where they get this. They said from their data. I'm wondering, though, if this is 2% from the complete total player base of New World from the start, right? Or is this right now? Is this the player base right now with their 7,000 concurrent? Is this, you know what I mean? Is this the player base right now? I'm just curious, is that still where they're pulling the 2% from? Because I'm not going to lie, if it's 2% out of 7,000 to 8,000 concurrent players, that's kind of crazy. I'll be honest, that's a crazy stat. But if it's 2% from the 2 million people who bought a New World copy, whenever we're down to 5,000 to 7,000 players, that's a different kind of percentage. You see what I'm saying? Somebody asked what a war logger is. I got you. Yeah. So a war logger essentially, and I want to address this too, because I feel like war loggers get a bad rep. I don't think war loggers, think World of Warcraft, right? If you guys know World of Warcraft, war loggers are essentially the raid loggers of World of Warcraft. Now, why is there a raid logger in World of Warcraft? Well, they're called raid loggers because they only log on and do raids, because guess what? That's kind of like the end game content. So whenever we're talking about a war logger, they typically only log on to do the wars, because guess what? That's about their only end game content. It's 2% of the current player base. That's an insane stat. I'm not gonna lie. Look, as somebody who is blessed enough to be in the wars, 2%, if it is from the current player base, is actually so low. That's shockingly low. That is shockingly low, to be honest. I got you. Yeah, of course. But yeah, in my opinion, I think that it's a hard answer, right? It's really hard, and everybody's going to have a different opinion. Like there's no really easy way to answer how to get people into wars, because the reality is this system has, the wars. I mean, what a lot of us have been playing for almost going on 3 years, and the people in the wars are people who are cooking, right? Like we know the wars. We have, a lot of people have practiced to get to this level, to get to this point. So you want to feel rewarded for that. But at the same time, if some of the best content is being casted away and, nobody can actually get into the wars, you have to think about the player base at some point too. It's not just about like owning territory and flexing your dong on the map. It's, you have to start thinking about the game from their point of view as well. So it's honestly a hard one. Like even as somebody in the space, there's no real right answer. And a lot of it is speculation until it can actually get into it. How you got 70 hours of the game and not good enough to war? Well, I mean, hey, what's up, Carnage? I mean, I think it's not really. Here's the thing. The thing is, you can have a lot of hours in the game, but to me, as somebody who even rosters and like looks at people like for my company for wars and stuff, things like that, it's not even about the hours, right? A lot of it is, what is your experience with wars, right? Because I would take somebody, so if somebody came up to me and said that they had 7,000 hours of played in New World but haven't been in a war, but then somebody has, let's say, 1,500 or even 1,000 hours played of New World, but they've been in like 20 to 40 wars, I'd pick the guy who's been in 20 and 40 wars. And I feel like most people would agree with that, because the reality is wars are won by experience. The biggest thing that deters new players coming into wars is the fact that they don't have any war experience. That seems to be the issue. And even whenever I tried to get the Lilith project started, that was the biggest thing. That was the problem was, I wanted to try and get people VODs, because the reality is most of these companies, you're not going to get in unless you have a VOD. It's just kind of rough, right? Like it's just hard. And then obviously networking, right? We can't forget. Yeah, I agree, Kraft. Yeah, I mean, there's also a part of networking too. I mean, it's a social game. New World is a social game, but I think that's what makes New World kind of fun and special, though. Like, I don't want to take that away. That's what's weird. That's what's weird. Like, you don't want to take that away from New World, because I feel like there is something to like the politics and the socialness of New World. I think that's what makes it fun too, right? Like it's so weird. It's a convoluted, it's a totally convoluted like system. It's definitely odd. But yeah, it's hard. I mean, new people trying to get into wars, it's definitely a hard thing. But AGS, I mean, they got to find, and also I want to say one more time, this isn't a problem for the player base to fix, by the way. Like this just isn't a problem for the player base to fix. This is something that AGS has to fix. I mean, it's fun to speculate and kind of come up with ideas as to what we could do, how we could change it, the future, this and that. But the reality is that's not on us. AGS has to figure it out. And hopefully they can get enough people to actually QA test these things when they do make these changes. So if they make these changes, it's not going to directly just completely destroy the war scene. And I think that that's why they say they're not like ready for it yet, or they're just thinking about it, because they know if they destroy the war scene, like that's a big core player base. It may just be 2%, but let's be honest, it's a big core player base at this point, and they don't want to mess that up.
It's the elite players, and as this question mentions, a lot of them are what they call war loggers, people who come in, have different accounts, and only play to do wars, and that further limits people that get to participate. I think one of the things with war is, like, experience matters so much.
Oh,
like
he said
knowing
experience,
how to
okay.
participate is much more important than gear. I mean, and all these guys have the top gear anyway. So yeah, I think there are things we want to change here. We want to make
More important than gear? I mean, kind of base. Did he just say he's not gear coping?
this more open. It's something that's definitely we've talked about and we're interested
kind
in.
of based.
I'll be honest, there's not an immediate.
Yeah, kind of base. Kind of a base take coming out from Dave.
It really hits that small percentage of the players hard, and for that we're like that's not what we want. But we have another PvP mode, OPR, and we see that's getting 20% of the players are engaging in, roughly 20%, not exactly, are engaging in it some
Roughly
fairly
20?
regularly. This would pull against that. It would start to create other potential queuing issues, and got to think about, you got to think all those things through when you go to make changes, because I'm a huge proponent. I would love to do casual wars. We just got to figure out the way to do it right.
Because just a pickup group against a more organized team, like you already see that in OPR sometimes with pre-made groups and things like that. Like we want it to be a good experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, they talked about how they would love to see casual wars, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, I think everybody wants that. I mean, let's be honest, guys. Let's be honest. I mean, I would say the best part of New World is wars, right? I mean, in the PvP, personally, I mean, that's why I play it and I enjoy it. But, you know, I have been personally saying matchmaking for a war, and I would personally love to see a commander role being put into the war. If there's like a cubal war like OPR or something, obviously you're going to have a limit on how many builds you get, but like, you know, how many range, how many, you know, et cetera, whatever. But I would love to see a commander role. I'm just throwing that in because I think that'd be sick. If you could queue up as like a shot caller and as a commander, I think that'd be lit. I think that'd be really fun for the game. So you could at least have some direction, and it would because if you guys have ever played a game like Hell Let Loose, or games like that, there are like you can very much have a commander role. Like this has been done in other games. It's not like too far out there. I think that would be a fun addition if they could pull that off.
All right. And are you planning to add gathering tool artifact items to the game as well, like weapons and armors?
We aren't, but I love that question. And after I saw it, it sparked a few discussions today that we had. I thought, like, I think that's really interesting. I am ashamed to say I hadn't thought of it myself. But I think that's a fun idea. No promises, but
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, gathering is one of the more fun aspects, unique, well done in New World. So
Yeah,
anything we can do to make
chill,
it better. Yeah.
my chill aspect. Just kind of relax, play the game.
Okay.
Well, that is all the questions we're taking for today.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for, you know, your patience and the questions, and we appreciate it. And we know that, you know, June seems far away, but it gets closer every day. So we got that going for us. Otherwise, the next time you'll hear from us will be Eye on Eternum
Yes, on May 13th.
on May 13th.
May 13th.
Is that Mother's Day, I wonder? It's right around there.
Oh, I don't know.
Anyway, welcome back again, Dave. Thanks, Scott.
All right. Well, you know, my takeaway personally is like I do like I've seen plenty of. I've seen plenty of like these videos. One thing personally that I liked about this video was that normally they're not in their kind of like typical kind of nonchalant, don't seem to care fashion. And I kind of like that. Obviously, you know, they probably don't like that, but normally this guy right here, Scott, nothing but, you know, hey, look, you know, New World and AGS respectfully to some sense has changed my life. However, in a lot of these videos, it always seems like he kind of has like a I don't care what the community thinks attitude. So I guess seeing them in this environment and seeing kind of like, you know, them kind of answer these tough questions and kind of like, you know, embrace that, because we did get a Q&A not too long ago where it just felt like softball after softball after softball. And it was just like, guys, like, you gotta answer some of these tough community questions, because like it did make the community feel like we weren't being heard. And unfortunately, I think that's something that a lot of people in the community feel like even right now, is the fact that we're not feeling heard. So I hope moving forward, obviously for the game, and you know, that it is on the up and up. We're obviously praying for the June announcement, but yeah, that's about my take on the video. I mean, I'm happy they answered some hardball questions. I do like the fact that they did hint on a lot of different things that might be coming to the game, but a lot of it is obviously we're thinking about it, things like that, right? It's not necessarily like, hey, this is an action in motion and we are changing it. So we're just gonna have to, you know, wait and see. We're just gonna have to wait and see, and hopefully it gets better, man. Hopefully.